You must be silent. You must say nothing. Say nothing about the present situation in this city. Say nothing about hunger. Say nothing about jobs. Say nothing about pay. But those in greener pastures, they may speak. They may raise their voices. But here in the smoke, you men and women, you must hush. I will not be silent. Never. No silence for me!
Welcome to Market Makers, everybody. Your home for tomorrow's TA today. Often imitate it, never replicate it. Tomorrow is the big day in the USA. Our elections, November 5th, guys. Remember the 5th of November. I think you're going to have a red sweep. I think you're going to see President Trump. I think you're going to see the House remain Republican control, the Senate flip to Republican control. And guys, I think you're going to see a Trump pump. The markets will move up and finish our uncompleted business of our giant ABC patterns. Now, some of you may say, well, why are you so confident in a red sweep? I think a lot of Americans are sick of the 26% embedded inflation in every single thing that we buy. They know that the Harris-Biden administration gave us 40-year high inflation. They know the media lies to us and simply tells you inflation's coming down. It's 2.5%. They never talk about the cost of everything being increased by an average of 26%. Heck, with the Fed's own numbers, the compounding rate of inflation, they have it at 21%. That's according to the Fed. They know groceries, food, everything you buy is more expensive. They realize that Americans are doing some basic math. And if you live off $100,000 after you pay taxes, you're actually living off of $74,000, not $100,000. I think a lot of Americans are sick of the immigration crime wave that we've had after letting in 15 to 20 million illegals, including the 12-year-old little girl that was killed back in June, Jocelyn Nungary, 12 years old, walking to the convenience store. They found her tied up, strangled to death, thrown off of a bridge. Two Venezuelan illegals murdered her. I think Americans are sick of it, and I think they're going to vote for change. Americans want safety. They want an economy that's growing. And I think the markets, if Trump sweeps, which I predict that he will, I think the markets are going to do the Trump pump and take us to our blow off top. That is very important because we're going to look at it in the charts, guys. So far this year, the markets have been playing out to a T. If you have been watching this channel, you know that we predicted the pivots in the marketplace a month ago on the Rally Killer video. October 17th was a prediction. You got your all-time high. We shorted it on the Discord. We got a 200-point drop on the S&P, and all the key markets are sitting on their 50-day moving average, waiting for these election results. So we're going to go over the charts here in the video, guys, because I think it's really important, because this market cycle is going to wreck a lot of people, and it's going to bring some people, some smart people, some people who are nimble, some people who are lucky, a lot of money if you understand how this cycle will play out. We got the non-farm payrolls report. That was 12,000 jobs. That's all that we added. Now, people will say, yeah, but the storms, the strikes, all of that is included in the estimate. 12,000 jobs. You look at the household survey, you actually lost six figures in jobs. The government hired yet again another 45,000 employees, which is the only reason you had a positive job print to begin with. Why is this important? In this non-farm payrolls, by the way, they did the last 2 months revisions. We once again lost 112,000 jobs. Go add that on to the minus 818,000 jobs. And now you're sitting close to 1 million jobs the government told you existed, never existed. Why is that important? Lee will tell you why. Roll the clip.
And it's interesting, Bloomberg's Cameron Kreis has noted that in 3 decades of Bloomberg data, there has never been a cumulative 1-year downward revision of 500,000 jobs or more without a recession. What do these revisions really say to you at the end of the day?
So we would expect the numbers to be off. This off is pretty dramatic. It's the largest that we've seen in 15, 16 years. It's about 1.5 times larger than any other downward revision that we've seen. So it's a pretty big deal.
Not once in 30 years of Bloomberg data have we ever had a job revision above 500,000, above 500,000, and not had a recession. And as a matter of fact, that job revision number was so large that minus 818,000, it was the largest job revision number by a factor of 1.5 that Bloomberg has ever recorded. The next largest was the GFC. Guys, the cycle is going to play out exactly how every market cycle plays out. Understand, recessionary indicators such as the yield curve, the unemployment indicator, those both triggered. Understand their track record, 12-0 going back 80 plus years. 12-0. So you can pretend, you can listen to people and tell you this time is different. You're going to lose your ass if you believe that. I think we're going to get our blow off top, specifically with a Trump win. Go and complete these massive patterns that we've been talking about for months on this channel, talking about Bitcoin. We have our 3 levels, 80K, 89K, 98K, and we have the S&P potentially going to 6,000 to 6,100. You guys have to see the charts, understand the dynamics. Most channels out there have no idea what's going on in the marketplace. They don't have a narrative. They preach, react, don't predict. They don't understand what's happening in the macro space at all, and you're going to miss key moves in the market, like a 200 point drop on the S&P that we've been talking about for the last month. So without further ado, Lee, let's go ahead and start the show. All right, guys, the ad you just saw was for SimpleFX, a massive 10-year anniversary tournament, $100,000 prize pool. Check out the link. I'll pin it in the YouTube comments. It helps support the channel. You guys should all participate, especially if you live outside the US. You can trade everything there, equities, commodities, Forex, and of course, Bitcoin and cryptos. Check it out. All right, guys, so let's go over a couple of things here. I want to use the whole charts here, so you're not going to see my image. The Trump pump. You could say, but Brendan, you just made a video, the election cycle crash. Exactly. That's why we shorted the markets, guys. But understand, we're talking about after the election, post-election. Let's go over the charts and the key levels of support that the markets need to hold. We're going to start off on the Dow. On the Dow, here's our W pattern, harmonically completed right up here at wave 5, 43,607. You're sitting there at about, what is that, like a 2,000 point drop at this point? So you have 1,790 points, fell below the 50. Where's your key support structure on the Dow futures? Right over here, 41,672. Okay, so understand, anything can happen with this election. You could have the election be contested. You could have civil unrest that can cause the deeper retracement levels, okay? This is why it's important to understand the cycle, to understand Fibonacci analysis, to get in trades at the top. What are your key support levels here if this keeps declining? The 618, 41,389. And as I just said, you need to hold, or try to hold, if you want to be super bullish here, try to hold hold that 41,672, which you almost came down to and kissed. 618, 4389, 786, 40,793. Want to hold these levels and then see if we get the Trump pump if Trump wins. And of course, when you get a pump, you can always make a lower high, but I think you're going to come up and take out the highs and move to our larger targets. And let's track this by the S&P. S&P weekly time frame, zoomed out S&P futures, modified shift pitchfork. Look exactly where we hit the 618, right? This was one of my confluence tools for setting up my trade for the Discord. Where did we fall? Right there, 57.21 on the weekly time frame. But more importantly, guys, if we get the Trump pump, we'll look at the downside targets, we'll look at the upside targets on the daily. But again, what are the targets? As you guys know, have been watching the channel at all this year, they haven't changed. So let's go ahead. Pandemic low, beginning of the cycle. Previous all-time high, January 2022, down to your retracement level low, 61.36. And what would this pattern do? Just like the NASDAQ, this would be your giant three-wave pattern, right? Market cycles complete in 3s and 5s. Your giant three-wave pattern would take you right up there to that 61.36. And look at that. I mean, it lines up beautifully with the 786 in the pitchfork. So let's go ahead and look at this. Zoom in. That would be the upside target. Where do you need to hold support here? Why are we in a short if I think you get a Trump pump? We're in a short. Again, guys, you know this if you watched the last few videos, all the way back to Rally Killer, October 2nd, right? Gave you the 3 pivot points, October 17th. I told you don't sleep on this. The super moon. You rallied right into it. That is the day of your all-time high. I posted my trade the next day, the short. We currently have fallen just about what? 200 plus points, 203 points. This can continue down. This is the election risk off, right? This is reshuffling of assets. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I think I know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of nerves in the marketplace. So let's go ahead and look at this. What's your key level support to hold? You're holding it right now. Again, 57.21. That's where you're bouncing off of right here. That next level down, 56.69. And if you look at this from a Fibonacci standpoint, pull this from 4 to 5. If we still get this correction / retracement, and regardless of who wins prior to any rebound, then you want to look at the 618. 5,600, beneath that 5508 at the 786. Obviously, Black Swan targets, covered those last video. I don't want to go over all that again, new information, but go watch the last video. Black Swan target meaning what? Civil unrest, contested election. We don't know who the president is within a couple of days of the election. You could see a deeper risk off. But right now, it's just playing out exactly as expected to play out. And you're trying to hold this key level support, battling right here on the 50. And again, guys, understand, couple ways the Trump pump can play out. I talked about the new all-time high, 6,000 to 6,100, right? But how else could it play out? It could quite simply play out like a 5-wave pattern. If we look at this, let me go ahead and delete this pattern. Let's pull a fib from our all-time high, right? Let's say we get this retracement. Right now, this is the low. Again, could come deeper, as you guys know. But for right now, that's the low. So let's look at this. What pattern would play out here near term if this isn't much of a rally? Trump wins, but it's not a big rally, right? Then look at it like this. This is a 5-wave pattern, the way this is setting up. Be looking for a rebound to 58.50, 58.83. And then what does this look like to you? If you understand waveforms, this is nothing more than a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder, and then your decline, right? You have to understand, when you're looking at fractal patterns, fractal pattern trading, you're looking for patterns that repeat in the marketplace, such as your W's, such as your M's, and then of course you're looking at 5-wave patterns, just like your head and shoulders pattern, okay? So you have to view this as the chessboard is set. We're making moves in the market. Nobody knows with certainty what the market will do. Again, it's all about probabilities, just like a game of poker. You can have pocket aces, know that your mate has pocket nines. You know you got him crushed. He always makes that face when he has a small pocket pair, medium pocket pair. But guess what? You get all your money in, you think you're doing it right, and he flops a set and crushes you. You lost. The point of trading is it's gambling. It's speculation. If you trade well over time, you will be profitable. Okay? This is all about understanding probabilities. So right now, this is your lower high perspective if the market just does a slight rebound, or this could be a Harris rebound. If Harris wins, you may still get a snapback rebound, but what? But maybe it's not as euphoric as if you get the Trump pump. Okay. Now, again, personal belief, I think if Trump wins, regardless of where this retraces to, you're going to get that big rally back up. And if we take out the high, I think you're going to complete the blow off tops, the market symmetry moves, the geometric moves in the marketplace. So watch these levels. That's your downside. That's your upside. And watch these levels. We'll see how this plays out with the election. Let's move forward. Look at the NQ. NQ completed its giant ABC pattern. The only market that did so that I tracked, 20,623. Again, this gives you a doubling off the cycle low here of 100%, the 100% move of your ABC. And this is a quadrupling off the pandemic low, 210% plus. So will the NASDAQ futures, that is, make a new all-time high? Well, NASDAQ Composite, look, one of my predictions was the NASDAQ makes new all-time high, right? And the NASDAQ Composite did that last week. The NASDAQ futures here on my screen, daily chart, did not do that. Did not make a new all-time high yet. But I would find it hard to believe if we get a Trump pump, the S&P rallies up, challenges the high, moves on to make new all-time highs, Bitcoin takes off. I think the NASDAQ is coming up as well. And if we look at this from wave 3 to wave 4, you have 21,067. You guys have heard me say this target over and over. That gives you a new all-time high in the futures. If you double this range, you're looking at 21,710. Another way, because we don't know yet, because you have not taken out this fractal high, so we don't know which fibs are going to come into play. So I always check both sides of my W. Another way to look at this is 21,971 for the 1272. That would be a big move. You see the NASDAQ's holding the 50 here pretty well. S&P struggling with it. The Dow lost it. NASDAQ's holding it, right? But if you get this move, take out that fractal high of 20,983. Want to watch 21,971. And if it went parabolic, 23,228. We don't know the ferocity of this move, the velocity of the move, but these are levels you want to watch. Conversely, if this starts retracing, because remember that election crash cycle video that I made, average retracement for the S&P is close to 10%. Last election cycle in 2020, we did 9.5. So if the market continues to sell off, let's pull a fib here from 4 up to 5, 618, 19,275, 786, 18,863, and that's still not a big retracement. 618 is only just over 7%. 786 is right about that 9%. Okay, but again, you're still holding here very nicely. Let's see what happens. I think Trump's going to sweep. I think you get the Trump pump. The more you can hold above the 50, the easier it is to slingshot to the upside. Okay, so keep that in mind with these upside targets. Let's look at the DAX. Again, we look at the DAX, guys, the giant ABC. This is on all the 3 core markets here that I track. When you look at the DAX from the pandemic low, 20,160 for your giant reciprocal move, a 100% move. Let's zoom in on the DAX because we had this beautiful Wyckoff trading range. Let's get some confluence for this ABC pattern to complete. If we pull the fib from the 1 down to the 2, what do we got? The 1618. 20,200. Again, Fibonacci confluence at that level, okay? Now we take this fib off. Let's see if we have any further confluence here. What about this topping range that you have right here on top of the Wyckoff range? Let's take your all-time high in the DAX, pull it down to your current low. Whoops. Pull it down to your current low. Let me do this again. Here to here. And then you can see, there it is, 20,238, right? So once again, 20,200, seems to be the target you want to watch. Now, again, the DAX is holding just above the 50. Could the DAX come further down? Of course it could. Could the pump fail? Of course it could. How would that look if it did? Well, let's look at it, right? Always want to be prepared for both sides of the market. You know, you can have a bias, you can have a view, doesn't mean it has to play out. Now, if we hold this level and only rally to a lower high, you'd be doing the exact same pattern you just saw in the S&P, right? So let me go ahead and draw this little 5-wave pattern right here. If you hold that low, even if you come down lower, come back up and do this move. Let me get rid of this so you can see it. What do you have, guys? You have a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder, a 5-wave move, head and shoulders pattern. Again, you need to pay attention to how these patterns forms, these fractal patterns forms, because it gives you a sense of direction. If we get a deeper retracement because the S&P, the Dow continues to move down, again, we have some election issues, some challenging events, then look at your deeper targets. 618, 18.8 on the DAX, 786, 18.551. It would put you right back in the heart line of this, okay? No way to know what's going to happen with the election, challenges, black swan events, unrest events. That's why I'm giving you both visions of the market. My personal belief, Trump sweeps. These markets are going to rally. They're going to be bullish. I want to see the DAX complete its giant ABC, the S&P complete its giant ABC up at that 6,000, 6,100 level, and we're going to see how this all plays out. Do we know for sure? No. That's why we're in shorts on the S&P and a couple hundred points in profit, okay? Looking at Bitcoin. When you look at Bitcoin, guys, geometrically speaking, we have our giant 3-wave pattern, as you can see, the green lines here, right? Your giant 3-wave pattern, 80,804. The Bitcoin targets have been the same all year long. A couple of things I want to show you. Look at the difference between the tops. Your first top in April 2021, your second top in April 2021, 6.38%. And then what about your difference between your second all-time high and your third all-time high? 6.80%. If you were to complete this giant 3-wave pattern, this ABC, to 80,804, that would mean the difference between your tops, your third top and your fourth top, 9%, just over 9%, 80,804. Now, you guys know I have higher level targets. View this as levels. It's work to be done on Bitcoin. What are these levels? Look at the Fibonacci confluence right here on the S&P at 80,804. You see the Fibonacci confluence right here with the 1272, as well as the 1 fib from the giant ABC pattern, okay? But again, these targets, you guys have known about these for months. 1618, 89K, 200% move. The doubling of this range takes you to 98,742, which I have been calling 100,000 on Bitcoin, okay? What's the reality of this happening? Again, Trump is perceived to be the crypto president. He gave a speech at the Bitcoin conference. RFKJ is on his team. Again, pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto. Biden-Harris, anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto. They appointed Gensler to the SEC. Gensler just did an interview a couple weeks ago bragging about how the crypto titans are in prison and he thinks crypto is going to fall apart. Which would you rather have in office if you are pro-crypto and want higher prices in Bitcoin? Exactly. So let's look and see what this can do here, because another pattern to watch, I've showed you guys this pattern before. Let's get rid of these fibs. Let's get rid of this big ABC. This is another pattern you have to watch. Your pandemic low, which is the beginning of your cycle, to your first peak, okay? Down to your retracement, up to your second peak. This is a false break double top. Do you see this? False break meaning the peak here at C is higher than A, but the trajectory was the same. It fell apart, fell down 80%, okay? That's your false break. Now, if this sets up the exact same way as this, let's look at this from the diamond pattern breakout. This is a trade, by the way, I shared on YouTube from this range. Go watch October 2023. Gave you this trade setup, how I would trade. It went up 130% from the diamond breakout, right? But look at this. This is a double top structure that you need to pay attention to. There's your top 73.8. There's your retracement low. And again, if this comes up, I mean, look at the symmetry of these two patterns, right? This is why that 100% move, 80,804, is going to be really key to see how Bitcoin reacts when it gets there. It's hovering right now at 67.8. That's if we get that breakout. It needs to hold key support. We'll look at that on the daily, but that's why it's the first true level I want to watch, because you have these competing patterns. You have the giant ABC, you have the market fractal pattern here of how you topped out before you did this 80% retracement, and you're doing that same move here. So we want to watch those higher levels. We look at this on the daily, guys, whatever you want to call this, channel, wedge, flag, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Key thing is you're trying to hold the support structure. You want to stay above the 50, which is right around 65K right now. So you could come down more if you see the market selling off more, they get more jittery. Election tomorrow, you could see it come down more, but you want to try to hold the 50 at 65 because it's all about making that next move up. Again, Trump comes in, you get that sweep. I'm looking for Bitcoin to rally. I think the crypto bros are going to be super excited. I think a lot of people perceive him as the crypto president. You'll see that initial surge up. And of course, the 1272 is that first big test level, 80,619. What if it falls apart? What if some, like the black swan, right? What if you have civil unrest, you have lawsuits, nobody knows who the president is for a couple of weeks? We want to go to that retracement low, pull up your fib, come up here. 618, again, is what you need to hold. 64,327. We want to really stay above the 50. But if you start looking down here, the 618 of this range that we just pulled, 58,383. That would be a big drop, okay? If this came down, say something happens in the election, unforeseen event, that's the definition of a black swan, right? Something happens, the markets sell off, Bitcoin starts pulling off, and it starts dropping. You want to watch these levels because these are some strong retracement levels, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I think we're going to know pretty quick here in the next 48 hours. Very contrarian. Everybody's saying the race is super tight. I don't think it's that tight. That's just my own biased view, but I don't think it's that tight. That's a 20% move if Bitcoin came down to 58. Obviously, in a true black swan catastrophic event, if you swept your low down here, to test that low is a 33% move, which takes you back down to the base of this channel. Again, not my base case, guys, just letting you know, making you aware of this. I think Trump wins. I think Bitcoin's going up. I think you need to watch 80,619. Let's finish it off with one stock, NVDA, largest stock in the world, largest company in the world. Right now, you're throwing a double top right here, right at that 139.50. You want to see if that holds. But again, my base case, if this can hold key support level, which is at 131, right here in this fractal high, right over here, if these candles, these highs, these lows, that range, if you can hold this level and the markets move up, then I'm looking at NVIDIA come on to 149.99, which is 150. And if the markets continue to move up, you need to watch 160. If you got that crazy higher level, NASDAQ level with some crazy pump, then I would be looking at NVIDIA getting closer to 200. They don't even report earnings until November 20th, okay? But right now you have a double top forming. So again, if you get a rollover, want to watch these support, watch these resistance levels right there at 144. Watch your 50 right there at that 124, 125 range. Important levels to watch. Guys, just remember, if Trump does come in office, the Trump pump is predicated on the idea that he's going to be pro-growth and less restriction, less regulation, but understand the market doesn't realize a recession is coming. I'm going to leave you with this because you need to be aware of this. Remember, the government has been cooking the books. So there's no incentive if Trump wins to continue to cook the books. So at some point they pull that rug, and that could very well be in December, okay? The next set of prints that come out. That could be what happens, right? So you need to pay attention to that. The Trump pump has a timeline. I think if he wins, we have a couple of weeks, maybe the month of November, to get to some of these key levels in the markets, and we'll see how it all plays out. I'll see you guys on the next video. Leave me your likes, your comments, subscribe to the channel, and check out our Discord. Would love to see you guys there. Hope to talk to you in the room. See you guys on the next video. Enjoy the election mayhem.